So if your child is having diarrhea, you want to give ORT. That's the number one fluid, because guess what? There's sodium and glucose pumps in the GI tract. If you drink water, if you give your child water for diarrhea, you're making it worse because the water is just going to pass through.
Hello and welcome. Today on Pediatrics To Go, Dr. Ekuase Sanusi will be taking us on everything about diarrhea. Hello, Dr. Ekuase Sanusi. Here's your cue.
Hi, Francisca. Thank you for talking about this. We're going to talk about diarrhea. And the reason it's a very important topic is because we do see a lot of children coming in with diarrhea. And really, what is diarrhea? It's when a child has loose stools or an adult has loose stools. That is, especially if it's like multiple times in a day. And diarrhea is really a problem because a lot of our children, they eat something, they can get a stomach infection. Many people call it a stomach virus. Sometimes it's not necessarily a virus, but the commonest reasons we have diarrhea is usually a viral infection. So a child eats something, food that is infected with viral particles, that virus gets into the system, makes them have vomiting first. Sometimes it's preceded by vomiting, and then it ends up being diarrhea. So the reason we're talking about it today is because a lot of people do all kinds of things when their child has diarrhea. So the most important thing that we want to explain to our audience is if your child has diarrhea and it started with vomiting, your child is at risk to get dehydrated. If you do not give your child the fluids that they need or the right medicine that they need, they end up having more and more diarrhea. So they might be vomiting, having diarrhea, so they're losing fluids from both ends. So if they get dehydrated, they could be extremely weak. They cannot, sometimes they don't even want to stand up because they've drained so much energy. And if you, the thing about children is a lot of their body weight is water. So if they are losing fluid, they are vomiting. Remember, when they vomit, they are losing electrolytes. Yes. And when they have diarrhea, they're also losing electrolytes from both ends. Now, I tell my patients and my parents, there's a treatment for vomiting. We usually give a medicine that stops vomiting on the brain level. And a lot of people know, a lot of doctors know what that medicine is. I'm not going to say it just because we don't want people just going to pick up over-the-counter medicine, yes. But you can see your doctor if your child is vomiting. But if your child is having diarrhea, there's so much a need for people to know that your child needs fluids. So if your child is having diarrhea, you want to give ORT. That's the number one fluid, because guess what? There's sodium and glucose pumps in the GI tract. If you drink water, if you give your child water for diarrhea, you're making it worse because the water is just going to pass through. When you give ORT, what does ORT contain?
I think sodium,
salt,
potassium,
and sugar.
Oh, I didn't know.
Yes, salt and sugar. So we used to actually give out a slip that tells parents how to make ORT.
It doesn't taste nice.
It doesn't taste nice, but guess what? That thing is life-saving. So in the GI tract, we have a sodium pump. You give ORT. Salt has sodium chloride. Yes, so that helps the fluid to get absorbed into a gut that has been passing so much diarrhea. So you give ORT. There's glucose pumps. There's sugar in ORT. That helps the fluid to get absorbed into the system. So ORT is the number one. We call it Pedialyte. There's all kinds of names. People call it Infalites. There's all kinds of companies that are selling. ORT is a lifesaver for your child if your child has diarrhea. So get your child on the ORT. The other thing you can give your child, guess what? Is Sprite. Oh, yes, or ginger ale. So get the big bottle of Sprite, shake it to remove the gas, make it flat. You give, if your child doesn't like the taste of ORT, guess what? Pour not salt. Don't pour salt.
Salt is like Sprite. Oh my God.
No. Pour the Sprite inside a cup. Then the other half, do half Sprite, half ORT. Your child will drink because they like the taste of Sprite. There's something about the taste of Sprite and ginger ale when they're sick. So you can do ginger ale too. Half ginger ale, half ORT. Give it to your child to drink.
What have people been giving us? I always know like you have to put salt in like, you know, like Sprite.
No,
so
you don't need to put salt.
And then it freezes out and then you drink it.
No, none of that. Just make it simple. Get your ORT, get your Sprite. And what does Sprite contain? It's water and sugar. So your child is getting sugar rather than getting water that they're going to pass out. Give them the sugar. The glucose pumps will make sure that your child gets rehydrated quicker. So the electrolyte solution is sodium chloride and glucose.
Also, some people some people think Gary.
Yes, and the reason they take Gary helps with diarrhea. Now we're going to talk about the foods that you want to take when you have diarrhea. Anything starchy helps with diarrhea. So
bread.
Yes, when I was in training in the 90s in California and New York, we used to talk about the brat diet. The American Academy of Pediatrics says, let them eat whatever they want. But that brat diet, guess what? It was simple for parents to understand, and it worked. What does it contain? Banana. You can do B for banana, R for rice, A for applesauce, T for toast. You can actually do smoothies with banana and apple. We don't even need to do apple. Our local fruits, you can do banana and pawpaw. You can do banana by itself. That helps with diarrhea, yes.
Wow.
You can do any starch. You can, so the B for banana, R for rice. You can boil rice, blend it, put salt and sugar. That's your ORT with rice starch in it. That helps with your child's diarrhea.
Brats.
BRAT, yeah. You can do applesauce. But, you can do any kind of sauce with our local fruits. It doesn't have to be apple. In fact, you can do, what are the fruits that we have?
Orange.
You want to stick more with starchy fruits. I think you can even give your child boiled plantain and mash it up and give your child. But you can do toast, T for toast or bread. Bread, get the our white bread. That helps with diarrhea. Agege bread, whichever bread that we like. As long as it's starch, it helps with diarrhea. Keep it simple. You can also do yogurt if you want, but keep it simple. Give Gary. What is Gary? Starch. You do Gary, put a little sugar in there, and that helps. Yeah, you can do Gary with sugar.
I didn't know that. And just plain Gary and lots of water.
No, put Gary. If you want to even put a little sprinkle of salt, guess what? That's your ORT with cassava starch right there. So you can't go wrong. So these are the simple things. Of course, if your child starts to have blood in the stool, that's a whole different level. You want to go get your child checked out. But if your child has vomiting, they need to see the doctor so that they can give that vomiting medicine. But the other thing is that diarrhea. Make sure that your child is getting rehydrated. Now, a good reason to take your child to the hospital if the diarrhea is not getting better, especially if you are doing all this and they keep losing stool and they're having watery stool and it's like 20 times a day and they're very weak, your child might now need IV fluids. Especially if your child is not peeing at least 3 times a day. Because everybody should be peeing once every 8 hours. So if by evening your child has not passed urine, your child is dehydrated. The only reason that people end up getting dehydrated is because they've lost so much fluid. They don't have enough blood flow to supply the kidneys to create. If your child is not drinking anything and is losing too much fluid, the kidneys will not release any urine. So that's the whole reason why we say if your child has not peed 3 times in a day because of the diarrhea or the vomiting, or you're not sure your child is just laying there, then your child needs IV fluid. Take them to the hospital, they'll give IV fluids to your child, and your child will get better. But please don't withhold fluid, especially ORT, Sprite, ginger ale, and then the diets we just talked about, the brat diet, if that's easy to remember, and make sure that your child gets the care that they need if they are not peeing, because it means that they are dehydrated and they cannot maintain their blood volume because they've lost too much in the diarrhea and the vomiting. So they now need IV fluids to get back to their baseline so that they will not get sick. Many children can get dehydrated and they can die because they don't have enough blood volume because they've lost too much from vomiting and diarrhea.
I know someone that had that kind of issue, but then this intestine literally stopped working, and then when the person went for test, the test results showed paralytic ileus.
Yes, when children have, and adults, when they have...
Okay, that's adults.
It happens in adults and children, yeah. But when you've vomited so much and you've had so much diarrhea, the neurolog, remember that the nerves, there's a nerve supply to the intestinal tracts too. The nerves can actually just, no, they don't die. They just don't function as they should. And you might end up having bloating because there's no peristalsis, which is the movement of the gut to get fluid, to get the food going. And first of all, when you have diarrhea, most times you are not eating because you're losing so much fluid. But if you are drinking ORT and you are eating the food that we talked about, ORT is, if you don't eat, we don't even care, but just drink. So paralytic ileus goes with stomach viruses and stomach infections. It's not uncommon for that to happen, and then you end up having bloating. because your gut is not moving the air and the diarrhea like it should because you're not eating. And that goes, it's kind of like wet and water. That goes with the terrain. Paralytic ileus is very common with vomiting and diarrhea. But it tends to get better once the child is drinking a lot, peeing a lot, and most times it's something that will pass as the virus passes and leaves the body. And that's really it. So if you have any more questions, please subscribe to our channel and send us a message through our social media handles.
Yes, please. Thank you for joining us on this episode. And I hope you know what to do when your child has like diarrhea or is vomiting. Remember, brats. Don't end up giving the child, what did you call?
What did I say?
We should not give them Sprite or salt.
No Sprite and salt. Yeah, just stick with the Sprite, ginger ale, Pedialyte, all the fluids. Yeah, lots and lots of fluids, they'll be okay.
And the heavy on ORT. Very, very
ORT, yes.
All right, thank you very much. I hope you've learned a lot. So until next time, bye.
Bye.